Good morning, everybody. What's going on? Welcome back to Movie Mornings. I'm your host, Dom Martino, and today we're going to do another classic rewatch of Steven Spielberg. We started with Jaws. We're going to go into his next film, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, from the year 1980, ladies and gentlemen. And we hope you've all seen it and can enjoy this with us. So comment below, what do you think of Close Encounters of the Third Kind? Is this a good film to discuss for you, or is it one that you haven't seen yet? That's something we'd be curious about, because we'd be curious to see if you watched it after the review and then enjoyed it or didn't enjoy it or whatever. Comment below, let us know. Whatever the case is, who gives a fuck? All right, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, leave feedback in the comment section, share this with your friends, hit the bell and notifications. All right, sitting with me today, as per Jaws, as well as Mr. Jose Espinal. What's up?
As
up,
for
Jose?
Jaws.
Well, you know, like also like Jaws, you know what I'm saying?
True, yeah. And I've been here since, for a while now. I've been a regular, so I'm just glad to be here. I'm glad to be, a regular on this channel, and I'm I'm glad we're doing this classic throwback watches with these movies, especially ones from Steven Spielberg, because he's just such a talented director, and the movies he's come up with, given the years that they came out with, phenomenal. Honestly, like Jaws was amazing, and this movie we're about to get into was also awesome. If you haven't seen the movie, let us know in the comments section if after this review you guys are interested in watching it, and if you do watch it after this review, then let us know if you liked it. And if you have watched it, like you said, let us know if you liked it or not, and if you would recommend it to a friend.
Absolutely, guys. I second all that, and also about the point of you're here every time. I don't even know why I introduce you anymore. But it's good to do. It's good to do. I'm just kidding. Yeah. I'm joking.
Yeah, it is. No, I mean,
joking around. Look, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Now, the unique thing about this one is you hadn't seen this. Unlike Jaws, which you'd seen but a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, there's three Steven Spielberg movies that I know back in the day I've seen, which is obviously Jaws, E.T., and the original Jurassic Park,
which we'll talk about as well. Yeah,
those are the three Steven Spielberg movies from way back when that I've seen.
Yeah,
so
it's interesting to go back and look at this one, and also Jaws for you, being one that he hadn't seen in a long time, we were able to get some new perspective. I mean,
it's the same. It's the same with E.T. and Jurassic Park. I haven't seen those movies in who knows how long. It's been a while since I've seen those three movies, so it's gonna be fun to revisit those movies and get a whole new perspective on them. So.
Absolutely. And you know what I was thinking? I hadn't actually talked to you about this yet, but I'm thinking about this, and the audience needs to let us know what they think. Once we get to Jurassic, we should save Jurassic Park for last. Well, it came out last
because we should wait for Jurassic World Dominion.
Well, I think we should save it for last, and then after Jurassic Park, we do the rest of the Jurassic Parks, and it leads right into Dominion. That way we have all the Jurassic Parks reviewed, and I think that'd be a really cool track to go down. But
it comes out in the summer, right?
I think
World
like
Dominion?
June or July. So
June,
we'll have time to
summer,
do it.
Summertime. Yeah, we'll have time.
Yeah,
for sure.
Anyways, Close Encounters of the Third Kind came out in 1980. It's directed by Steven Spielberg, starring the great Richard Dreyfuss.
Music by John Williams, of course, the great.
Yeah, Steven Spielberg looked at sharks. He was like, "Hey, that went well. Why not aliens?" And that's kind of where this movie came out. Really, and I think the other important thing that happened between Jaws and this movie is Star Wars came out as well for the first time. So I think that probably has something to do with the fact that he wanted
I was gonna say some kind of influence there to be like, you know what, these guys are George Lucas went and did space wizards and space samurai guys. Why not go for aliens?
Absolutely.
That's what Steven Spielberg was thinking. So
and we'll talk about it in a little bit, but I did notice like a couple, I think Spielberg might take a couple little tricks from George in this film after seeing the original Star Wars.
And John Williams has definitely taken from like music wise from other movies and hinted them in here, which we'll get into as well.
Yeah, I agree. There's a couple little hints from other movies that I noticed from John Williams. I don't know if you picked up on them too. Yeah. One that's not even his own. I'm not even sure how he got away with it without getting in trouble, but I caught it in the music.
He probably asked for permission.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe. But it was a nice little hint. But either way, Jose, first time watching Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I mean, take it away.
Honestly,
what do you think?
I'll admit at first it was kind of slow. I wasn't really enjoying it at first, but as I got into the movie, I got more interested because the pace was picked up some, so I was enjoying it more as the movie got on. I would say maybe the first like 20 minutes or so was kind of slow for me. I told you while we were watching it was kind of slow.
Yeah.
I was, no offense to the movie and no offense to Spielberg, I was getting kind of bored, but the rest of the how I don't know, like hour 40 whatever, was it picked up. So it was actually like really, it was interesting from then on.
Yeah.
Obviously, a movie that has to do with aliens in the 80s is very hard to do, not only just technology wise but concept wise, because I don't think aliens were really confirmed at that point.
Yeah.
So it's pretty hard to do a movie solely based around aliens in a time that aliens weren't really confirmed. So for Spielberg to do that was impressive. Overall, as a movie, I was very impressed. I like this whole. I mean, I believe in aliens and I believe they exist. In this whole, and doing a movie, solely based around aliens is a very cool concept to do. So,
Yeah.
I thought, Richard Dreyfuss, of course, he's in all these classics for all these classic movies that you've shown me, and he's hilarious, and his performances are amazing. No matter what the role intends, he does it 100%. Like, what about Bob, Stakeout, like, Jaws, this movie, like whatever role he's given, he just performs to his best. Like, he's incredible. Honestly, anytime I see that he's in a movie, I know it's going to be good because I mean, it's Richard Dreyfuss. Like, he's phenomenal.
I agree. Yeah. And for me, I second all that. Madeleine Khan, who played his wife, also did a really great job in this film.
Like, there were scenes in this movie where she really outdid herself. Like, her acting was top tier, honestly. Remember that one bathroom scene was phenomenal from her, and even the kids, like they really did their part as well in this movie.
I noticed honestly. That too. Yeah, like
the oldest kid, he's like with the door slamming and stuff.
Yeah, he had a couple really great scenes in here. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, even the kids, like they really performed to their best. I can tell that they were really pushed in this movie to do their best.
Yeah, and go ahead.
Which is why I admire Spielberg so much, because he's he pushes his actors and actresses to perform to their best.
Right.
Which is why I admire Spielberg as a director, because that's why I'm really excited for West Side Story, because he's come so far, and I know that every single movie he comes out with is going to be a banger, because it's Steven Spielberg and he's one of the best directors of all time.
Yeah.
He knows how to do what he does.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. And I think that I don't think everything he's done. I think after Jurassic Park, I'm not saying that he's done bad movies after Jurassic Park. Most of them have actually been pretty damn great as well. I think after Jurassic Park, for me, it's nothing's been as good as that, like, prime Spielberg, but
it's like Jaws and Close Encounters, E.T., Jurassic Park. Yeah.
Like, prime Spielberg is always my favorite,
which is fair, because I mean, directors don't have all perfect movies. I mean, you're bound to always have those movies that aren't like wow.
No, I always
there's always a hit or miss when it comes with directors and their movies. No directors are perfect, and it's a common thing for a director not to have those, like, amazing movies. But given that, anyways, he's still obviously one of the best, because he's produced in the time, in the 80s, a time like that, with how not advanced the technology was, he was still able to produce these kind of movies that were like that are classics to this day. So it's very impressive.
I think that's what I like about it is seeing what people like him and George were able to do with, like, limited
technology and resources, right? Yeah,
like, while the resources got they gained more and more with each film they did, because they just kept getting more and more successful,
more and more money to put into the resources, right?
While you had that, it's still always just the best to watch the early stuff to me, and Close Encounters is no exception to that, because I always look at this one and I wonder why it's not in the conversation of, like, Jaws, E.T., Jurassic Park. Like, I
was just saying, because like I hadn't even like heard of this movie at all until you mentioned it. Like, it's surprising to me that this movie isn't up there with, like,
it's not talked about enough
with Jaws, E.T., Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Like, it's it's crazy to me. Like,
Yeah,
because obviously, because Jaws, E.T., Jurassic Park are like his top 3 movies of all time.
I
Those are
agree.
like those are like his most popular movies of all time. But I would definitely put Close Encounters at 4, like
Sure. Yeah.
behind
Sure.
those 3 for sure, because this movie really, really, obviously, like I said, the first like 20-25 minutes was kind of slow for me, but the rest of the movie kind of trumped those 25 minutes, so it made it
Yeah, for
overall
sure.
a very, very impressive and great movie. So I would
Yeah.
definitely put it like 4th. I don't know where I would rank Jaws, Jurassic Park, and ET, but I would definitely put this one like
Yeah.
right behind those 3. So
I'll tell you
uh
though, while the opening 20 minutes is kind of a slow burn, I don't disagree like in that sense. But like what I will say is I like watching it for a couple reasons. Number one, I love the dialogue. Like you kind of pointed this out, like, and I know you said you like hated this, but in general, like the people talking over each other type thing, like, but
I just don't like that in
yeah.
movies or in like real life in general. I just find it's like one of my icks. I just don't I just find it annoying. Like, let one person talk, and then once he's done, you can talk afterwards. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know why. That's just, I mean, every person is different, to each their own. Just to me, I just find it annoying.
Yeah, well, I would say this though about this movie is like Spielberg was creating like this intro style that like we hadn't seen before this, like, and we've seen played out in multiple movies, and I can name out multiple movies that we've seen this in. Like Jurassic Park has something similar to this, like introduction, and like uh what's the one I'm trying to think of here, like Disturbia, not Disturbia, Transformers, Eagle Eye, a lot of the Michael Bay movies, you look at them like in general, like what's the one I was just watching the other day, use something similar to this, The Rock, that's the movie I was trying to think of. Like you see a lot of these types of intros now where it's like it's typically on stuff. It's funny. You'll see this type of intro, like the style of it, in a lot of movies that maybe Spielberg didn't direct, but he's a producer on. So like, I feel like he gives this advice to everybody to like incorporate one of these like introductions that it's almost like the movie before the movie type thing, and then that's kind of how I think he likes to play it. So it's like before you get into your core characters, like put in one of these intros where we're kind of setting everything up for like 20 or so
So that's the thing
minutes.
is, I I enjoy dialogue, obviously, like dialogue
Yeah.
heavy movies. I guess that was just the one thing that I just didn't enjoy from those first like 20-25 minutes,
Yeah.
was like the overlay of like people talking over each other. It's just something that
Yeah.
I don't know, it just kind of annoys me. But
Yeah.
overall, the first 20-25 minutes,
Yeah.
I I feel like maybe it could have been shorter. I don't know. I still can't really grasp it.
It certainly could have been. I think the cool thing about it is the fact that we've seen it reused so many times. It's this type of thing has been recycled where you get
Yeah,
this like
it's
intro.
almost like those 20-25 minutes has become a staple
It
of
has.
what
Yeah.
like other movies have decided to use.
Yeah. It's that
Which
style.
again
The style. Yeah.
is impressive on Steven Spielberg's side, because so many different movies have decided to use that same style.
Yeah.
That, like, in a way, Steven Spielberg, he probably didn't invent it, but he was the one that made it like most popular in a way.
Yeah.
So it's impressive on his part.
Oh, I'm
But
sure.
again,
I'm sure he was watching some underground filmmaker that utilized it and just decided
that's
to
what I mean. So
incorporate it.
someone else started it, but he was really the one that made it popular.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So
It's
that
like
part's
George with the screen wipes. Like he got that from Kurosawa, but a lot of people wouldn't know that. But they just
exactly.
that's George
He was the one
Lucas'
that
staple. Yeah.
he's the one that made it popular. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
his staple, exactly. So again, overall as a movie, I really, really
Sure.
enjoyed it, because the whole concept that was played throughout this entire movie, people seeing this select group of people, they think that they're crazy, but they were actually right in the end. That whole concept is really, because I feel like that would
really
happen.
cool. Yeah.
Because that I feel like that would happen in real life. There'd be like a select group of people who
Yeah.
believe in it, but then the rest of the world is kind of looking at them like, "Well, you're going insane. You need to go like see a therapist or something." But like, I feel like
Yeah.
that's a really cool concept, because that would
For
actually
sure.
happen in real life.
Well, we see a lot of these
I
guys.
feel like that's happening now, if I'm being honest. Like,
Yeah.
there's a select group of people who actually like believe in it and have seen it, and then the rest of the world's kind of like, no,
I agree too. I agree
you're,
with that.
you're
Yeah.
crazy. Like, we're the only like living life forms in this world, and then like there's a select group of people that are like, no, there's other things that exist in this world. Like, when it comes to me, now I'm gonna be 100% real right now. We can't be the only living life forms in this world.
No.
Like, we have 8 other planets, and you're trying to tell me we're the only living life forms? No, there's aliens, cyborgs, whatever. Like, there's all different kinds of different living forms in this world.
Well,
like,
the constant thing about this movie, based off your point there, and the reason that you're having this conversation now, I feel, is because, not that this isn't something that we've never talked about, but I'm saying, like, it's cool to have this conversation now in a way, because the thing this movie does, the way it relates to this, is Spielberg does in this what he does so well in all his other movies. He keeps that sense of wonder, throughout the entire movie.
that is true.
And the imagination is all, he always leaves a lot open to the imagination. And
he does this. He does the same thing with Jaws. He's done the same thing with Jurassic Park, in terms of the dinosaurs. Like, some people believe they existed, others don't. I mean, he keeps that wonder in each one of his movies, and he's very true when it comes to his movies. Like, he touches on subjects that still coincide nowadays and that are very divisive nowadays.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what I love about Steven Spielberg so much, is that he touches on these concepts that are very divisive to this day.
Yeah, I agree.
It honestly blows my mind. Like Spielberg, if I ever meet you one day, which probably won't happen, but like, just keep doing what you're doing, man. You are nailing it. Like, and I can't wait for West Side Story, because I feel like that's going to be one of the most truest version of the older version.
Right. Yeah.
It's like Denis Villeneuve with Dune. He's like the closest that the author was with his books. I feel like it's the same concept here with Steven Spielberg and the older version of West Side Story. So
right. I want to jump off one of your points there, though, because you were talking about how the topic is kind of divisive, and like, much like in Jaws, he kind of showed how this shark issue just got politicized, and in here,
and it still is these days. Like, sharks, I mean, people are so divisive about sharks. Like, some of them, when they see sharks, they don't get scared because, I don't know, they like sharks and they know that they're not dangerous. But the other people just see a shark and they're like, oh, that shark's gonna eat me straight away, and they're very dangerous. Don't get near them. Like, all these movies all are like very divisive topics.
Well, what's cool here is he shows like how the aliens get become politicized, but not just within the system, but within Richard Dreyfuss's own family too.
That too.
Like, exactly, and that's really cool to bring it to that smaller scale.
Yeah, because it shows how this kind of concept can separate families.
Yeah.
Because in this instance, the wife saw him as a crazy guy who needed help, and he didn't want to accept it. And so she's like, you know what? No, you've gone too far. I need to just leave you right now.
Right.
It just goes back to my point of, like, it's a very divisive subject, and it's very true to this day, because these are all topics that are very divisive and separate people in a way that it's kind of weird if you really think about it. It's a very weird, divisive topic. I mean, you believe it or you don't, and
Yeah, well, one of the things I loved, so let me talk about this. I'm going to switch gears here a little bit. John Williams' score is incredible. And one thing I want to point out, so a couple things actually. One, there was a callback to Jaws that we noticed.
His score just never disappoints, if I'm being honest. Like, the scores in all of his movies are just such a classic that you'll just never forget. I mean, Jaws, no one ever, like, everyone know, even if they haven't seen Jaws, everyone knows the score from Jaws, the da-da, da-da, and then everyone knows the Jurassic Park theme song. I mean, everyone knows the E.T. theme song. Like, everyone knows John Williams, his Star Wars music. Like, everyone remembers his scores, whether they've seen the movies or not. Everyone knows them. The
other callback I caught, which I thought was brilliant, and
the Jaws song when the aliens were playing it,
right,
their mothership. Yeah.
The other one that I think is brilliant is When You Wish Upon a Star. I don't know if you caught that one.
From Pinocchio.
Which Richard Dreyfuss references in the beginning of the movie.
Pinocchio, exactly.
Right, and I thought that was so brilliant.
I didn't say that when we were watching it, but that blew my mind.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, he's talking about Pinocchio, and then John Williams does
he
the
took a
when you
little
wish
bit
upon
from it. Yeah. Yeah.
which
It's very subtle. You got to catch it.
I'm guessing he got permission to use
I
that
would hope so.
from whoever the hell made it. Was Disney. I'm guessing he got permission from Disney
Yeah.
to use that music. Which kind of, it's kind of funny now because Star Wars is now bought from Disney. So
Right. It is kind of interesting how that works.
Interesting
Small
how
world.
that works.
It is a small world after all, as the theme
Bro,
song.
that ride from Disney.
Yeah.
I've ridden it like even as an
Back
adult.
your mic up a little bit there. It's just very staticky on my end. Sorry. Try now.
Is it good now?
Better.
Is it good?
A little closer.
How about now?
Better. Go ahead.
Okay. No, yeah, I've ridden that ride as an adult, and it still brings nostalgia to this day. But yeah, no, it is a small world because it's funny how that's a Disney movie, and John Williams got permission, and now Disney has bought Star Wars, so it's just it's a small world.
Right. Yeah, they weren't.
But
lying.
yeah, when I did notice that, it was that was crazy when I found out that he was, using the "When You Wish Upon a Star" soundtrack. It all made sense as well because Richard Dreyfuss was saying, "Hey, let's go to this Pinocchio show or whatever," and then he did that soundtrack. It was cool.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, going into Richard Dreyfuss too. I mean, just watching his insanity play out throughout it. Quote unquote honestly, insanity, but yeah,
of course his acting throughout this entire movie was phenomenal. I mean, he never disappoints. No. All the roles he plays are phenomenal. He can play honestly like any role, and I was very impressed. Yeah, I was very impressed. He knows how to do it, man. He's very talented.
Yeah, I don't know, which one do you like better? Do you like him in this or Jaws? Which one do you think like he played better? I think this gave him more room to do things. Personally, like I would argue.
Yeah, that, I would say that, but the only reason why is because this movie just in and of itself is more divisive than Jaws about a shark. So because this was a more divisive movie, it kind of gave him more room to kind of explore more. Don't get me wrong, his performance in Jaws was phenomenal as well, but I just feel like in this movie, because it's a more divisive topic, it gave him more. It gave not only Spielberg but Richard Dreyfuss more room to explore. Like Spielberg was like, all right, this movie's more divisive, so kind of just explore more and kind of take risks and stuff, kind of go out there more. So
well, and this is no offense to Roy Scheider and Jaws, who did incredible, but he's also the lead of this one, Dreyfuss, so that's exactly the difference too. So you're obviously going to get more screen time.
Yeah, because he was a supporting in Jaws, so he didn't get as much, right? So it is two different. It is two different kinds of movies. Jaws was him more as a supporting role, and this was more as a lead. So he kind of had more screen time and more to explore. So
it is two different.
As a supporting role in Jaws, he was phenomenal, and as a lead in this one, he was also phenomenal. So it's like.
It's funny what you said there. I mean, it is two different types of movies for sure. I mean, they're of different genres.
One's about sharks and one's about aliens, so it is two different.
Yeah, I mean, Jaws plays a little bit more into the horror, and then this is a little bit more sci-fi. And so they are two different types of movies, but on the same hand, they're really not. Like Spielberg is still using his sensibilities in the very same way. Like, and the brand, it's still a part of the brand. I feel like of Spielberg.
I feel like with Jaws, E.T., Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and Jurassic Park, they're all gonna be the same. They're gonna be different, but also the same because they are all Spielberg. So I feel like they all have his mark.
100%. Yeah, there's something similar. Yeah,
they're all different, but at the same time they have similarities.
Yeah, I mean, this movie is definitely, I'm not saying it doesn't have it at all, but like it's a little less suspenseful than say like Jaws is. Like there's a little less suspense in this.
Or even Jurassic Park, really.
Yeah, and I'm not saying, exactly. But I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's like we said, different type of movie that he was trying to make. And like, so that's one of the key differences I would say.
That's what I feel like. I feel like with Jaws and Jurassic Park, those were more for suspense, whereas this one is more for like divisiveness.
Yeah,
going with government against its people, and then like couples within each other, like families kind of being divisive because one person is the one that saw the aliens, and then the rest of the family's kind of looking at him and being like, oh, you're crazy, you need help, stuff like that. So it's like this was more of a divisive movie, whereas Jaws and Jurassic Park are more of like a suspenseful type movie.
But his approach to character development and sense of wonder, I think all kind of stays the same. Like
I was gonna
that's
say, I
like
feel
the
like
through line. Yeah.
it's the same in like those 4 movies: Jurassic Park, E.T., Close Encounters, and Jaws. They all have character development and all that stuff, but they're all kind of different in their own way, but similar at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I would say too, I just want to go back to the intro really quick, because you were kind of talking about it is the slowest part of the movie, and I agree. The one thing I would say is, because I was kind of critiquing it earlier, while this is like a slower intro, the other thing that's cool to see about it is it does get improved upon later. Like Jurassic Park has one of these types of things, and I think in Jurassic Park, like it's improved upon the style of intro that he used for the movie. Moving on from there, I mean, I just enjoyed watching Richard Dreyfuss and his family. Like I mean, we were kind of talking about that, because that really is the key focus of the movie, is like Richard Dreyfuss and his family.
I feel like the kid too is also a big part of this movie as well.
Yeah, because you're always kind of,
even though I was gonna say, even though he's not like the lead or anything, he's just that important. He's like that important to the movie because you're kind of following him this whole time as well. I mean, he's also one of the first people that you see too that is kind of like wandering off and doing his own thing, kind of communicating with the aliens in a way.
Star-Lord, bro.
You know what? It could be.
Could be.
No, but yeah. No. He's also, very important to this movie, whether you want to admit it or not, because you follow him throughout basically this. Well, not only do you follow him throughout this movie, but you're also thinking like, what's going on through his head? Like,
yeah,
he's been with the aliens for this long. What were they actually doing with the aliens and stuff like that? It's like, it's very interesting.
I agree. Like I think like we said, there wasn't as much suspense in this as say Jaws or something, or Jurassic Park, but like if there is some, it's the kid. Like the suspense is really based around the kid, because you're constantly wondering what's going to happen to the kid. And
and then when he gets abducted, it's like, he was with the aliens for this long. What exactly did he do with the aliens? What did the aliens say to him? What did they do to him and stuff like that? It's like you're thinking the whole time, like, what's happening with this kid and the aliens. At the same time that you're watching the movie, you're also thinking that at the same time.
Yeah, I do like when it comes to like special effects, like things that like aren't practical in this movie, like UFOs and things. I like that it's only used when needed. It kind of helps the movie hold up a lot more. Like obviously when you see like the UFOs, they do look a little bit dated, but like it's really only used when needed. And this movie's not like UFO nuts, you know what I mean? Like it is, but it's not like there's not a UFO every 5 minutes. You know what I mean? It's like,
and I like how too we don't actually get to see what the aliens look like until the end.
I love that. It just keeps you wondering about that, because I remember I think you asked me really early on if we'd ever be able to see them, like when we were watching.
I was gonna say, and you never answered because you wanted to leave that kind of like suspenseful for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you knew that we would see the aliens. And knew when. You just didn't want me to know, because you wanted to leave that to suspense for me. If you'll allow me to kind of nerd out a bit about like the actual like cinematography and stuff about the film.
Absolutely,
because that's what I've been studying.
Of course, I've been curious about this.
Studying recently. I actually even just did a presentation with a group about cinematography of a movie. The angles used in this, like the camera angles and shots used in this film, are really cool. I noticed that they used close-ups in this movie a lot when the UFOs were involved and when the aliens were involved, which was really cool because you didn't really get close-ups until those scenes. Then you had the wide angle of the aliens to kind of show not only how big the group was but also how short they were. That was really cool. You had the alien ships were always shot at like a low angle to show them higher than the humans, because they're aliens. They're a species that is known to kind of be more advanced in technology than us, and the humans were always at like a high angle to kind of look lower than the aliens, which was really cool. I really enjoyed that. The red and blue for the colors of the UFOs I found very interesting. And the shapes of the UFOs I found very interesting as well, because
those are so cool.
We've always thought them as like circular, thin spaceships.
Here we got a variety. Like
I was about to say, in this movie we got a variety of shapes. I also really liked when Richard Dreyfuss was building the Devil's Tower.
Me too.
He was shot at a low angle to kind of show like how tall and dominant this Devil's Tower actually is in this movie, because of obviously what happened in that specific scene.
Yeah, and
I
I
thought
love that, by the way, really quick, because that was like one of those things, because he's building this sculpture in his house, this model of it, and then it comes on the TV, and as an audience member, you can immediately go, oh, so that was all for nothing, because he would have just pieced it together when he saw it on TV anyway. But it's
and
really not. Like, there's a lot of purpose to
I
why
was
he
gonna say,
built the model. Yeah.
and I liked too that when they panned to the TV that showed the Devil's Tower, it was still shot at a low angle to still show like
Right. That was cool, actually.
how dominant and important this Devil's
Yeah.
Tower was throughout this entire film, which I really like. The camera angles that
Very good
Steven Spielberg used in this movie were, you know, very impressive and very impactful, and I really enjoyed that, honestly.
Yeah, one thing I noticed too that you didn't point out were the shots of the sky as well. In terms of cinematography, I thought those were utilized incredibly well, and I think that a lot of alien movies have utilized that sense because of this movie. Honestly,
Spielberg,
like I think this influenced a lot of that. Just trying to show like really cool shots in the sky, like when the clouds were going all nuts and stuff. Like I just thought the stuff looked beautiful. And that added a sense of realism to it as well, like to where it was like it felt like if we were in an alien invasion, like things would feel a little bit more dark and you know, a little bit more gritty from time to time. I like the setting in general of like, except for the third act, obviously, like it being in Indiana. Like I love that, and maybe it's because I'm here, and I just thought they did like a bang up accurate job of what Indiana roads look like and stuff. Like when Richard Dreyfuss is driving down the roads and stuff, and
almost runs over that kid.
Right, like it looks like something out of Indiana. It really does, and so I just thought that was really good stuff.
And that old guy whistling that song, I thought that was really cool.
That was a cool little parallel.
Because at first I thought, you know, that family was like possessed by the aliens or something, which I thought was really cool. But then you find out that they also just had visions of the aliens, which I thought was really cool. The whole, you know, half of Richard Dreyfuss' face was sunburnt because of the light from the UFOs.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think what else.
That was a really nice touch, by the way, because that's something I don't think we've even seen done since, where the UFO lighting would have an effect on your skin.
Exactly.
That's a unique little trademark, I think, for this film. And I also liked, honestly, just the fact that like it is so family focused, but the stuff, like, because the family is what makes it interesting. That's a lot of the reason the movie works. But like when you take a look at, you know, the inside, the stuff going on the inside, like that also becomes just as interesting by the end of the movie. Like you're kind of like you're kind of watching both stories and being just as enamored by both and trying to figure out, like, because really you got the people on the inside, and then Richard Dreyfuss's character, they're really all trying to work toward the same goal. They're all really trying to figure out the same thing, just in different ways, different resources.
You know what else I found really cool too was they used medium shots, which is like from chest up, a lot.
Right. Yeah.
When there was like suspense happening, or like when they were scared because of the aliens, like stuff, or like when, for example, when Richard Dreyfuss was being chosen by the aliens, and you like saw the medium shot of the French guy, kind of like almost crying. So like I liked how they used those medium shots in like suspense or like sadness or like joy and stuff like that. I really enjoyed that part too of this movie that Steven Spielberg used. Like I just love the variety of camera angles and the messages that those angles kind of sent to you when watching this movie. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, that said, I don't know that any of the like camera angles and stuff were as creative as they were in Jaws, but they were still really good for this type of movie, I think. And like
they all had their own like impact.
They definitely did. Like you could see, like this felt like Spielberg, like, because I feel like Jaws did so well that they just gave him all the creative freedom to do this in the world.
And I wish I had this knowledge about the cinematography when I watched Jaws, so that I could break it down better.
True. But yeah. Hey man, you're learning. That's cool. And like it's cool to, you're learning with Spielberg. You know, that's just kind of cool. No, because like honestly, like I do feel like this was Spielberg given the creative freedom to do whatever the hell he wanted after Jaws. Like I feel like the studio was like, yeah, go ahead, and like just make us something else now, and you will give you a little bit more money to do it. And this was pretty cool to watch. Honestly, it's him
And
playing
this
around with different things. Yeah.
and something else I really well that I picked on that I really enjoyed too is when at first they did the wide angle of all the abductees,
That was
and
cool.
then he used the same wide angle to show all the aliens, which I
Yes.
found really cool.
Those wide shots are fantastic. It's
Mhm.
actually some of my favorite stuff in the movie are the wides. The
Yeah,
wides are
same.
so good. Like Spielberg's wides are like unprecedented. And like I want to talk about the third act really quick because when he got down to when they got down to the base, the first thing I thought of was the Yavin 4 from Star Wars. I was like, he took that from George. Like he took inspiration when it came to the lighting and the everything
And
going into it.
the way that the base looked as well,
Yeah,
it gave me like Star Wars vibes.
even the
Yeah.
effect of like the guys going over the intercom and stuff, like when you're in the base on the
Yes.
Yavin 4, like that's all he took that from George. That was straight out of Star Wars. Like I love that though. I like that they kind of had this ongoing filmmaking friendship, for a long time, and that they
And
took inspiration from one another.
the other thing I really enjoyed that kind of like it hit me pretty good too was the kind of medium close up shot they used of the girl, that woman that he like kissed when she saw that he was like walking towards the alien ship.
I
That like
noticed that was really good.
that medium close up shot they used of her.
Yeah,
I when she saw that he was like she like moved her camera and saw that he was going to the alien spaceship, I found really impactful as well. Like it showed like how proud she was of him
yeah,
as well in a way. Yeah.
yeah. There was another kissing moment in this movie that I really liked. I'll tell you why. I don't know if this was a Dreyfuss choice or if Spielberg threw it out at him. Either way, it just worked. It played really well in the movie. Is when he's kissing his wife in the beginning, and then you just kind of see his eyes like look up because he's still like not.
Oh, you mean when he's looking up at the sky when he's
Right.
taking her to the where he saw the aliens?
Yep. And he's still he just kind of look. They're kissing and they're in this moment, but then he just kind of looks back up to kind of let the audience know like he's still
he's still like thinking
his
about
focus
what he
is still
saw.
there, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool, and I think we've seen that done a few times since the movies, but this might have been like one of the earlier times that we'd seen it, and I think that a lot of movies probably got inspired by this to do that. Like
Because I like
yeah.
in that scene how like he's kind of she's like kissing him and he's still kind of looking up at the sky, and then as she's turning his head and then he looks at her, he's like, oh man, I need to be in this moment with her. And so then they start kissing, and then that's when he puts his focus back up to the sky. I really liked that whole scene there.
Yeah,
I thought that was really cool.
I also noticed, speaking of influences from George, I think a lot of the desert, was definitely influenced from
Tatooine.
Star Wars, because I think
Yeah.
that he saw probably in Star Wars how well that actually plays in the movie and probably wanted to use the desert setting for that reason. And then the ending, another thing I want to talk about in the third act too, when the music is going and like while you kind of even pointed out like this probably isn't how an alien invasion is going to go, like with the music going back and forth, but the thing I'll say is two things. Number one, it gave John Williams a chance to really show off his talent as a composer, and the other thing is
And put in the Jaws in there as well, which is cool.
absolutely, and the other thing it does really effectively is that as the audience member you're hooked in that moment. Like you're just kind of like, for some reason you're just like, this is like, it's odd but it's kind of beautiful, like I kind of like watching this like exchange of tones between the music that they're playing and the music the aliens are playing until the point that they take over.
Another thing that I really liked in the third act too was when the French dude did the song with the sign language and then the alien did it back. I thought that was
That's
really,
what I mean.
really
Yeah.
cool.
That
I
stuff
thought that was really cool.
it's so beautiful for some reason. Like
Mhm.
just listening to it and being sucked in those moments. The third act is just it's almost like another film within itself, but it just
I was gonna
works
say
so
honestly,
well.
like the third act was my favorite of all the acts, if I'm being honest. Like
Yeah,
all that stuff is just incredible.
it works so well. It just plays incredibly well. It just keeps you sucked in, and
Mhm.
it really just gives you everything comes together in such a beautiful way. You're like, okay, this is the reason I watched this, to kind of get this like sense of I don't know, like atmosphere or whatever the fuck, but it works so well. the comedy in this movie is really good too. Like I think
Also,
that
like Richard Dreyfuss in his comedy just
he's
never fails.
so good, man. Like he just, oh my, the opening moments, you're like, oh my gosh, we don't have actors like this anymore. Like, there's a reason Richard Dreyfuss is a star, because you watch him in the opening moments of this movie when he's just talking, and like, I love the joke of, I don't do problems. That's why I graduated. When he's talking to his son, he's doing the train thing, and he's like,
He's like, how much does this have to move before? Like, there's 1,000 people's lives on the line.
Yeah, exactly. Hurry, Brad. There are thousands of lives at stake, and he just says it so naturally.
And then that one thing that he told his wife when he was yelling that we went back and watched again. That was funny too. I can't remember what he said, but that was funny too.
I loved when he yelled at his kid, "You are close to death," because the kid just kept beating. Which, by the way, in shooting a movie, that's a brilliant shot too, to just keep the kid in the background beating the baby doll,
the doll
to eventually like have Richard Dreyfuss just snap, and just to keep it in all one frame, like, was just brilliant, and it just played so well for the humor of it. By the time we got around to it, and like, yeah, I just think that. Yeah, when Spielberg looked at Jaws and he was like, "Yeah, that's my leading man for my next movie." Like when he was making Jaws, he had to have thought that. Like, he's like, "Yeah,
because he saw how incredible he did as a supporting role in Jaws, and he's like, "Yeah, I need this guy to do a lead role."
Yeah,
in my next movie.
It's almost like I'm not saying this is the fact, but like, I don't know, but it's almost like he wrote this for Dreyfuss in a way. Like, to have Dreyfuss bring the same sensibilities he did to Jaws to a leading role, and he just carries it so damn well. And also, like I said, just to give him so much to play with was just awesome. And the other thing is that I noticed about this movie that I think it really shows you like how little constraint Spielberg had when it came to like how much freedom he had, is the length of the movie, which I actually, for the most part, enjoy. I mean, we talked about the beginning being kind of a slow burn, and sure, you could have hacked some runtime off of it maybe, but I think for the most part I really enjoy it, because it just, there's something about this movie, and we don't really get this a lot anymore. Like a studio making a movie at this length, they hesitate to do this, they really do anymore. Like, you got to be like a Marvel movie or Star Wars movie to make something of this length anymore. And I think that's unfortunate, because this movie is a one-off movie, and because of the length of time, it feels complete to me.
Well, unless it's Dune, which would also have that kind of run.
True, but like, unless you're like something like that, like,
which again,
like, an art house movie.
Which again, you say Marvel and Star Wars, that's all Disney. So in other words, unless you're Disney, you wouldn't have a movie with
mostly, yeah. I mean, and either that or you're an artsy director, like, and I think that's unfortunate, because like, this is a studio project that just feels all the more complete because of the runtime. Like, I really come out of this movie, and this is something I don't do a lot anymore in just these types of movies these days. If it gets made, I don't come out of it feeling like that was so complete, like that experience felt complete to me, like, I just don't like, I always feel like I come out of a movie missing something, like,
and that's why they always have to make sequels or trilogies,
right,
of movies, because you don't get movies. As I was saying, I mean, I get it too, because I feel like they almost do that on purpose.
Yeah,
they don't make you feel complete, because they want to do a sequel or trilogy of said movie. But I would like every now and then to get a movie with a runtime like Close Encounters that makes me feel complete.
I agree.
Like
Dune. Like, Dune was a studio film that made it complete. I agree with you, but it's rare.
Although I was gonna say, although we are gonna get a sequel of said movie, but it did it make me feel complete? Kinda. Was I wanting more? Yes,
sure, but like, you felt like that was like, when you walk out of it, like, you feel like that was the vision the director had, he got to do, and I don't feel like that every time. Like,
that's true. I think Dune is the last movie that made me feel like that.
Right, and it's very rare we get one of those, like, at least in the studio system.
And that's, as I was saying, that's props to Denis Villeneuve, because that's hard to do, and he did that. So,
at least when it comes to blockbusters, it's rare we get something like that. Like,
that is true.
And this was a movie put out by the studio at the time. It was a big studio movie, and you feel very complete when you walk out of it. It feels like it was a one-off. It was done well, and yeah, you're right, man. I mean, even like Dune, we're getting a sequel. It's like, so it's not really complete, even though it had that runtime. And so that sucks. Like to me, like that's one thing that we're missing big time nowadays is getting these very complete experiences, you know, and just something that like letting the directors kind of run with their imagination and thoughts. And like to me, like that's what makes it work. That's what makes this work. That's what made Jaws work. You know, he was able to really run. That's what made Star Wars work, you know, in the first place. Really able to letting the creators let their imagination really run wild, you know, and it's just, it's very cool to see. Now, you know, something I would point out too about this movie is coming off the coattails of Jaws, you know, 1980 was a good year because Empire came out this year too, you know, which is awesome. Like I love that, you know, Empire also came out in the same year. So that's cool to me. I don't know which one of the two came out first. Maybe you can find that information.
Which one?
Between this and Empire Strikes Back, I'm not sure which came first because they were both in the same year. Still very cool.
Well, I guess same era or whatever.
Same
or
year.
Same like
yeah. Both 1980, right? So they're both the same year. Or am I wrong about this whole time? I think they were both 1980.
Okay, yeah. So that's that one.
Yeah. So
Empire. Wait, what? Close Encounters of the Third Mind was 1977, not 1980.
Was it 77?
November 16th, 1977.
I was always convinced this movie came out in 80. Well,
no,
false information, folks. I'm glad we looked it up.
So this one came out first, and then this one came out 3 years before. 3 years before Empire came out.
Okay. Yeah. So 77, that was when A New Hope came out. Which one came first? I think it was A New Hope. So let's make sure that's correct.
Yeah, let me just
because we just talked about how much inspiration Spielberg took from George.
A New Hope. Well, A New Hope because of the Tatooine,
right?
Yavin 4. Yeah,
all that stuff. Yeah, because
A New Hope.
I still think it applies either way because I think that
okay. A New Hope came out May 25th, and Close Encounters came out November 16th. So
okay,
A New Hope came out first.
Either way, it applies though because like they're buds, and you know that Spielberg saw A New Hope beforehand. Yeah,
I was gonna say Spielberg and George Lucas are super close friends, and
they inspire each other.
He definitely saw. He definitely saw clips and stuff of A New Hope and took inspiration.
Why was I convinced 100%. This came out in 1980 though? I don't know why.
I have no idea. It's a good thing we fact checked it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. That almost makes it kind of cooler to me. 77 was a great year then. There you go.
Well, the 70s were.
Yeah. Well, 70s, yeah, they were popping, man. I mean, we had some really, really good filmmakers back then.
I guess 70s and 80s really, like, those were some good centuries.
I agree. Yeah, we had some great filmmakers popping off and making some classics. This being no exception to that, obviously. Look, man, I mean, this movie was amazing, and just like I loved watching it again today. I feel like I always kind of pick up something new from this experience watching it. There was a I know we watched the theatrical cut today. There was a director's cut if you ever wanted to seek that out.
Oh wow, well. Yeah, director's cut of this?
It's a little longer too. Yeah, it's good though.
I mean, I assume director's cuts are always longer than theatrical ones.
Yeah, it's really good. I actually prefer the director's cut just a little bit more.
I mean, I feel like that's been the case for most movies that you've seen director's cuts for.
True.
I mean, like Justice League and Batman versus Superman, you've liked the director's cut more than theatrical. So I feel like that's always the case for movies because obviously the director's cut, they don't have to cut out as much as the theatrical version, so you get to see more of the director's more of what the director wanted to have in the movie that you didn't get to see in the theatrical version.
Yeah. So what's cool about this though, and I wanted to point this out though, when you watch the director's cut, it's really not all that different. So it's almost like he really got to make his director's cut, you know, like already.
That's good at least.
Yeah, like there's really not that many differences. So it is like he got to make his director's cut already. So I kind of like that about this is watching the theatrical version of it. It's
I was gonna say because when you see the theatrical version versus the director's cut of Justice League and Batman,
right?
There's big differences.
Right.
That make the movie that much better.
You like Snyder cut and Justice League, yeah.
And Batman, which I haven't seen the Batman v Superman.
Oh yeah. I get what you're saying, right? Yeah, those two are definitely there's big differences for sure. Like those movies are like puzzles. You take a piece out and it doesn't work as well. And like yeah, with Spielberg's movie, he really did get to, again, it goes back to he got to make his complete puzzle, you know, for the most part.
Exactly.
Like the
Yeah.
stuff that did get cut or whatever, it's really very minimal, you
Just
know.
minimal. Yeah, exactly.
And it's not really essential. So he really did get to make his complete experience with this. Yeah, man, I think that, you know, Close Encounters is it needs to be in the conversation. It needs to get back in the conversation. I don't know how you make that happen, but it definitely does, because like I mean, there are many like film enthusiasts that will tell you this is one of the best movies of all
I was going to say, I
time,
mean,
but
it's highly ranked in Rotten Tomatoes, so I mean, it's surprising that it's not in more conversations than it is.
yeah, but like
Um,
most casual moviegoers will talk to you about Jurassic Park, Jaws, or you know whatever. But
ET, because those
ET,
are
yeah,
like, because those are the ones that are, you know, obviously mainly talked about, because not only because of its theme, like theme songs and like soundtrack, but just because of, you know, how popular they have become, which surprises me that Close Encounters, you know, hasn't had the
yeah, that's
same
what I'm saying. Like I would argue
influence and
in terms
impact.
of the score that the dun 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 should be just as iconic as the rest of them. You know, because
I'm surprised. I'm just surprised I'd never. That's the thing.
it should be.
That's why I'm surprised that I hadn't heard of Close Encounters up until you mentioned it. Like the soundtrack, I guess, just hasn't become as popular, obviously, as E.T.,
No,
Jurassic Park, and Jaws, because I had never heard of the movie or the soundtrack until you mentioned it. So
no.
that surprises me.
Something I want to mention too, the look of the aliens is fantastic. Like it looks pretty good for the time, like especially.
Oh yeah, for the time, yeah.
Yeah, like
I was gonna
it's
say, because I mean, aliens now, like nowadays in movies, look hella sick, but
oh yeah,
for
sure, but like for the
for
time
1977, yeah, the aliens looks really good.
pretty damn good. Like they
Bro,
hold up pretty well.
the leader alien looks creepy as hell.
Yeah, actually that imagery like holds up really well, and I thought it was really smart. It was almost like it was almost like Spielberg like knew like eventually this would look dated, so he was really smart to like put it in that white, you know, sort of backdrop, you know, like with that bright white. And hey man, I mean Camino, who knows, maybe that got inspired by this, you know, because
Oh
that kind of reminded me of
shit.
Camino a little bit.
Yeah, the Kaminoans.
Yeah, so I think that maybe there's some inspiration going on there. For sure, with the white. And yeah, I thought that the bright white, I thought that looks really good. And even looking like Attack of the Clones, like that bright white effect is one of the ones that holds up, you know, like with the Kaminoans being in that. So
True.
it really works. That imagery like really plays. And Spielberg is just, he's a god, man. I don't know what to tell you. Like
Like he's honestly a god amongst directors. Like
yeah,
he's just, I mean, he's produced so many classics
you watch this
that
movie, you're like, there's a reason he's, you know,
you watch any of his classics and you're like, yeah, this is why he's the best.
I mean, you know, I think by the time you get around to, I would say maybe even Saving Private Ryan, I mean, the guy's accomplished everything he needed to. And you look, you know, once you're done with that, it's like, man, he's just doing side quests at this point, you know, West Side Story and all those other shit he's making, you know.
I was gonna say he's already produced so many classics
Yeah.
and bangers that is like at this point he's like, I'm successful. I've done what I've needed to do. Now at this point, I'm just gonna venture out and do different kinds of movies that I've really never done before and kind of just
Yeah.
experiment.
He's kind of
Yeah,
stepped away from, you know, the original ideas and he's kind of adapting
he's
other,
experimenting.
he's
And
adapting
I
other
was gonna say
things. Yeah.
he's experimenting and kind of like doing different things
Yeah.
from his classic, you know, way of making films and wanting to do films. He's kind of just, because again, like I said, he at this point he's successful enough, he's done the classics, that at this point he's kind of just experimenting and having fun, you know, having fun with making different kinds of movies that, you know, he hasn't really done before,
Right.
and that no one would expect him to direct.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's really like he's just doing side missions, you know. Like and really like it's you know, you look at his resume, you know,
It's
like
like it's like in Assassin's Creed, you know, he's done the whole main story and he's finished it. He's finished the game, and
exactly.
at this point, he's just trying to complete all the side missions.
Exactly. And that's exactly what I feel like he's doing. And like you look at his resume, you look at War of the Worlds, right? That's an adaptation. Look at West Side Story, an adaptation. Ready Player One, an
Yep.
adaptation. He's just trying
Adaptation.
to
Yep.
do, you know, more of those, you know. And while
Mm-hmm.
not all of those have worked for me, it doesn't mean that he's still not one of the most masterful dudes out there. Like the fact that he can show he can do it, you know, it's
You see, I don't think I've seen War of the Worlds yet.
War of the Worlds is great, actually. I would actually, it's probably the closest. It's not as good, but it's one of the closer it's probably the closest you'd come to like a classic Spielberg, in the modern time, I guess. Now, like Ready Player One, I didn't love. I am not a big fan. I know you love it. Yeah,
I did enjoy. Yeah, I did enjoy.
yeah.
I
But
did enjoy that movie.
and he does like a lot of true stories now. You look at like The Post or like Bridge of Spies. I mean, he does like he's really a jack of all trades anymore, and he can do it all. But yeah, man, I mean, he really Close Encounters really shows the trajectory that he was about to go down after this, and like it does, because you watch this movie, it's like another original, just like done so well. Jaws was based on a book, but it was very loosely based on a book. Like it was loose comparatively. Now this movie, I don't think had a book, and like it seems a lot more original now that you see. I mean, there are so many tropes in this movie, and they weren't tropes at the time. They've just become tropes. Like you see so many things that you watch and you're like, man, so many filmmakers have used that technique since, or whatever the case may be. Devil's Tower was a really cool thing. Really cool piece of scenery in general, because I'll have to show you this clip maybe, but there's a scene in Rebels that you'll watch, in Star Wars Rebels, and it came right out of this Devil's Tower sequence. Like you watch it and you're like, yeah.
The thing in Rebels looks like Devil's Tower.
No, but the sequence in general looks like the Devil's Tower sequence. Like you could tell Filoni took it right out of Close Encounters. This whole thing. Okay. I'll have to show you that clip.
So I feel like George Lucas and Spielberg always kind of just like took inspirations from each other.
Absolutely.
And people who worked for, obviously, like Dave Filoni, and people who worked for Lucas always took inspiration from Spielberg when it came to shows and stuff like that. They're just that close of friends that they just took inspiration from each other.
Yeah, we see it all the time anymore. And it's pretty cool actually, to really start to dive in and break it all down and think about it. Yeah, man. I mean, again, I like that Spielberg kind of pulled forward that whole thing from Jaws, like where you had like the townspeople kind of like in an uprising over the shark, and we kind of had a sequence that was very similar here when they were
uprising for the aliens.
Exactly. And I like that he continues those things in this movie. And yeah, man, this movie just has a vibe, a feel that we don't have anymore. Like they don't make movies like this anymore. They just don't. Like
I did like like you said before me watching it, prior to me watching this movie, I didn't really enjoy it for the sci-fi aspect. It was really cool. I really enjoyed it, and you nailed it. I mean, we don't really get movies like this anymore. I mean, I would really like to get movies like this with the kind of technology we have these days, because I feel like they would just be so good. Like, they'd be phenomenal movies.
Yeah, I mean, somebody pitches this idea now, the studio says no right away. I guarantee it.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
With the attitude that the studios have now, they say no. It's not going to happen.
And how the times have changed, that like people are into, like people want different stuff and all that. Like you pitch Jaws, Jurassic Park, E.T., like any of these kinds of movies from way back when, the studios are going to say no.
Yeah,
I mean,
9 times out of 10, you're correct. And the thing that they would say is, well, it might work as a series, because I think TV's where it's getting killed, where it's really working right now. So somebody might take it as a series, or if you did do it as a movie, if they took it, they would say, yeah, but you got to add about 100 more explosions to it, and that's not what this movie is.
That is true.
It's a character piece first and foremost. It's aliens are kind of the backdrop to it, but it's really about. I was gonna say, because
I mean, you look at a movie like Independence Day. It's an alien movie, but like how many explosions does that movie have? Like, there are just so many explosions in that movie. That's what I mean. The alien
and I like
movies,
Independence Day for different reasons. Different reasons.
Same. Yeah, but that's what I mean. Is like you pitch an alien movie to a company, and they're like, you just gotta add like hella explosions, because this is what everyone looks for these days. It's just explosions, especially when it comes to like extraterrestrial movies and like war movies and stuff like that. They just expect so many more explosions.
It's true.
You don't get movies like those anymore, which I mean, it's sad to say, but it's the truth.
Yeah, And this movie just it has a pureness to it. It just feels very pure. You know, it feels like it came from a creator. You can watch it and you see it came from a creator, and I love that about it.
And not just any creator, but Steven Spielberg.
I think I said this about Jaws. I'll say this about this. The hard work is all on the screen. You know, it is. It's still there. It's very present. You know, you can really see.
I would like to see directors these days try and direct a movie with the technology that Spielberg and George Lucas had back then. I don't think that they would be able. I don't think they'd be able to do it. Like that just shows how creative and amazing Spielberg and Lucas are because of the fact that they could produce the kind of movies that they have with the amount of technology they had.
Yeah, use the resources they had. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that no director could do it. I mean, we've seen some pretty good examples of movies that are on a smaller scale, you know, that work. It's just, yeah, is it as good though? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it's a good question because like these movies have, in my opinion, like you look at like A New Hope or, you know, Jaws or Close Encounters or whatever. They stood the test of time for a reason, you know, and they're really timeless.
They are classics and will always be classics for a reason. Like
absolutely, man, I agree. Look, believe it or not, that wraps up the hour. We've gotten through it.
That was an hour already.
Yeah, I know, right? Wow,
oh
I know. It's
Bro,
wild, but
time flew by fast.
Yeah,
Jesus.
Look, I want to thank everybody for joining today. This was fun. I love this movie so much, and I'm so glad that you finally got to see it, man. Look, what would you rate this movie, and what's your kind of closing statement on it?
I would definitely rate this a must watch. I mean, it's a classic for a reason. It's also Spielberg. I mean, really almost any movie of Spielberg, I would be down to watch because of how talented this man is. Final thoughts on this movie. It's one of the oldest alien movies that I've seen today, and obviously it's different from alien movies these days, but it's definitely one of the most impressives that I've seen. The performances from the actors and actresses, amazing. Like Richard Dreyfuss was incredible. The camera angles and shots that Spielberg used in this movie are incredible. As much as there isn't as much suspense as like Jaws and Jurassic Park, the angles